So in R6, we're going to be factoring polynomials. So we have a few different types of factoring, different methods that we can use. One of them is factoring out the greatest common factor. So if I ever have something in common, whether it's between my coefficients, so the numbers out front, or the variables, I always want to start by taking that out. So step one, whenever we factor, is to take out the greatest common factor. So I look at my terms here, and I need to think, what goes into both of them? So is there anything, just looking at the coefficients, that I can divide into both 6 and 4? 2. So I'm going to take out a 2. So I'm dividing them by 2. Whatever I take out is going to go on the outside. And then looking at my variables. The first one I have 3 x's. The second term I have 1 x. So how many x's can I take out? What do they have in common? Just 1 x. So I can take out 1 x. So that is also going to go to the outside. So whatever we divide, we have to divide the same thing into both of them. I couldn't divide both of these by x to the third power because this one doesn't have 3 x's to take out. It only has 1, so the most x's that they have in common is 1. So I'm going to divide both of them by 2x, and then whatever I have left is going to go into the parentheses. So what is 6 divided by 2? 3. And then if I have 3 x's on top and I take 1 away, how many x's am I left with? 2. So it'll be 3x squared. So our first term. And then I have 4 divided by 2. What's 4 divided by 2? 2. And if I have 1x and I'm taking 1 away, how many am I left with? 0. They just cancel out. So my answer is 2x times 3x squared minus 2. And we could check our work by distributing the x squared to both things inside the parentheses, and we'll end up with the original question. So you can check your work by distributing. All right. So for the next few examples, we're just going to be factoring. So what is my greatest common factor that I have here between x squared and negative 5x? Do they have any coefficients, any numbers in common here? No. Do they have any x's in common? How many x's can I take out? 1. So x is going to go to the outside, and then I'm going to divide both my terms by x. So what is x squared divided by x? Just x. So if I have 2 x's and I take 1 away, I'm left with just 1x. And then what is negative 5x divided by x? Just negative 5. So the x's cancel, and I'm just left with negative 5. All right, let's look at number 2. So looking at my coefficients, what do I have in common between 6 and 48? What goes into both 6 and 48? 6. So I can divide both of these by 6. And then looking at the variables, how many d's can I take out? Just 1. So I can divide them both by d also. So 6d is going to go to the outside. And then I divide to see what's left on the inside. So 6 divided by 6 is what? 1. So they cancel. And then if I have 2 d's and I take 1 away, how many d's do I have left? Just 1. So 1d. And then what's negative 48d divided by 6d? So it's 48 divided by 6. 8. And then what's d divided by d? They cancel out. So my answer is 6d times d minus 8. Any questions here? All right, so number 3. What's my greatest common factor? What can I divide into both of these terms? I can take out a 3. So it's negative 3t divided by 3. So what's negative 3 divided by 3? Negative 1. And then I'm not taking out a t, so I'm just left with the t that's there. So it's just negative t, because remember, we don't put the coefficient of 1. And then what's 21 divided by 3? So plus 7. So here I would have 3 times negative t plus 7. Instead of taking out 3, what else could I have divided here? What else could I take out as my greatest common factor? So I took out a positive 3 here, but what else could I take out instead? What about a negative 3? I could divide both of these by negative 3. So negative 3 goes to the outside. What would I be left with on the inside if I take out a negative 3?
T minus 7.
Awesome, t minus 7, because 21 divided by negative 3 would be negative 7. So these are the same thing. They just look a little bit different, so it just depends on what you take out. You could take out a positive 3 or a negative 3. Here it doesn't matter, but when we have trinomials, we would want it to be positive to start. So whatever our first term is, we want that to be positive. So usually if you have a negative in front, you'd want to take out the negative. But either way works here. I have 4t squared plus 12t. So looking at my coefficients, what do I have in common between both of these?
T.
Coefficients, the number. So I could take out a 4. And now looking at the variable, what can I take out? A t, perfect. So 4t is going to go to the outside. 4 divided by 4 would just be 1. And if I have 2 t's and take 1 away, I'm just left with t. And then what's 12 divided by 4? 3. And if I have 1 t and take 1 away, they cancel too. So my answer is 4t times t plus 3. Any questions? All right, number 5. What can I factor out here? I can divide both of them by 5. And how many k's can I take out? 2 k's. Because I have 2 k's here, and I have at least 2 k's here, so I could take out 2. So k squared. So what's going to go on the outside of my parentheses? 5k squared. Whatever I'm dividing goes to the outside. What's 10 divided by 5? 2. And if I have 3 k's and take 2 away, how many am I left with? Just 1. And then what's negative 15 divided by 5? Negative 3. If I have 2 k's and take 2 away, they cancel. So my answer is 5k squared times 2k minus 3. What do I have in common between 8x cubed and negative 20x squared? 4. So I can divide both of them by 4. And then how many x's do I have in common? 2. So I'm going to take out a 4x squared. That gets written on the outside. And then I divide to see what's left on the inside. So it's 8 divided by 4. 2. And if I have 3 x's and take 2 away? So 2x. And then what's negative 20 divided by 4? So negative 5. And if I have 2 x's and take 2 away? They cancel. No x's. So my answer is 4x squared times 2x minus 5. So here we're going to be factoring trinomials with a is equal to 1. So try, what do you think try means? 3. So it'll have 3 terms. And our leading coefficient is going to be 1. So typically we would have something like a times x squared plus b times x plus c, where a, b, and c are going to be numbers. So that a is going to be 1 here. So we're just going to have a plain old x squared to start off with. We need to find factors of the last term. So it's going to multiply to the last one, and it'll add up to the middle number. So factors of the last, meaning it multiplies to the last one, and the sum to the middle. So adding to the middle number. If the last term is positive, then both signs are the same. So this last term, if it's positive, then we're going to have the same sign. So it'll either be a plus and a plus or minus and minus. Because remember, negative times a negative ends up being positive. So if this is a positive, then we'll have the same. So that means if it's negative, it'll be different. We'll have 1 plus and 1 minus, but the larger number has the middle term. So the middle one is going to be the sign of the larger number. The larger number's sign. So you don't really have to remember these two parts as long as they multiply to the last term and add up to the middle one. This will always, always be true. So let's look at our example down here at the bottom. So I need to find 2 factors of 12, positive 12, that add to negative 7. So what are 2 numbers that multiply to positive 12 and adds to negative 7? Perfect. Negative 4 and negative 3. Because negative 4 times negative 3 would give me that positive 12. And negative 4 minus 3 gives me that negative 7. So then I'm going to have 2 sets of parentheses. One of them is going to have x minus 4. And the other one has x minus 3. So these 2 numbers just go into your parentheses with the sign. And it's always just x in the parentheses too. This is x squared in your question, but you don't write x squared in your answer because you have 2 x's here. Bless you. And here we could check our work. How do you think we could check our work? By foiling. So we could FOIL, and we would end up with the original question if we FOILed. All right, let's look at number 1. So I have x squared plus 5x plus 4. So I want 2 factors that multiply to 4, but add to give me 5. So what are 2 factors of 4? 2 and 2, but does 2 plus 2 give me 5? 4 and 1. Perfect. So the hardest part of these questions is going to be coming up with the factors. If it helps, write down the number and write your factors. So like 1 and itself will always be factors. And then we said 2 and 2, but we know 2 and 2 doesn't add up to 5, so that doesn't work. But the only one that will add up to 5 would be 1 and 4. So in my parentheses, I have x plus 4 and x plus 1. So I need 2 factors of 14 that add to 9. Perfect, 7 and 2. Well, what's 7? Oh yeah, 7 plus 2 is 9. Yes. So what goes in our parentheses? What's our variable here?
Oh, W.
So w plus 7 and w plus 2. The last class asked, does it matter on a test or quiz if you accidentally put x? I do not care. As long as you get the numbers. What matters are the signs with the numbers. So if you accidentally put x, that's totally fine as long as you come up with the 2 numbers. Any questions here? All right, let's look at 3. What are 2 factors of 36 that add to 15? 12 and 3. 12 times 3 would be 36, and 12 plus 3 is 15. Perfect. So what goes into my parentheses? Y plus 12 and y plus 3. If we didn't know our factors that added to 15 right off the bat, make a little chart on the side. My factors of 36 would be 1 and 36. That doesn't add to 15. We have 2 and 18. That doesn't work. 3 and 12. I have 4 and 9, 6 and 6. So I would just go through, like starting with 1, go through 1, see if 2 is a factor, 3 is a factor, and find the pairs, and then find which one adds to 15. So that would be 3 and 12. So you can always make a little chart to help you find the factors. For 4, what are 2 factors of 45 that add to negative 14? 9 and 5, but it has to add to negative 14. So what? Negative 9 and negative 5. Because we know that the signs have to be the same here because they're going to multiply to positive 45. So negative 9 times negative 5 would be positive 45. So in my parentheses, I have x minus 9 and x minus 5. All right, so let's look at 5. So I need 2 factors of 39 that add to negative 16. So let's see, I have 1 and 39. That doesn't work. 2 is not a factor. 3 and 13. Does that work? Yeah, but what do our signs have to be? Both of them? Yeah. Negative 3 and negative 13. So what goes into the parentheses? J minus 3 and J minus 13. All right, let's look at 6. What are 2 factors of 90 that add to negative 19? Perfect. Negative 10 and negative 9. So in my parentheses, I have m minus 10 and m minus 9. All right, number 7. What are 2 factors of negative 35 that add to 2? 7 and negative 5. Perfect. Because 7 minus 5 would be positive 2. And the bigger number is always going to have the sign from the middle term. So the bigger number would be positive, which 7 is bigger than 5, so 7 is positive. So in my parentheses, I have y plus 7 and y minus 5. All right, number 8. What are 2 factors of negative 20 that add to negative 8? Negative 10 and 2. Perfect. Negative 10 plus 2 would be negative 8. So in my parentheses, I have w minus 10 and w plus 2. All right, number 9. So here I have b squared minus b minus 30. So I'm looking for 2 factors of negative 30, but what do they have to add to? Negative 1. Perfect. Because that coefficient in front of the b, even though it's not written there, is a 1. So what are 2 factors of negative 30 to add to negative 1? 5 and 6, but which one's negative? The 6. Bigger number is negative, so 6 would have to be negative. So in my parentheses, I have b plus 5, 5 is positive, and b minus 6. Number 10. What are 2 factors of negative 27 that add to negative 6? Awesome. Negative 9 and positive 3. So we have p plus 3 and p minus 9. The order that you write them doesn't matter, but the order where your signs are matters. As long as the negative is with the 9 and the plus is with the 3, I could write it p minus 9 and p plus 3. The order doesn't matter, but just make sure the signs are correct. So 11, what are two factors of negative 56 that add to 1? 8 and 7, but which one's negative? The 7's negative, because 8 minus 7 would be positive 1. So in my parentheses, I have q plus 8 and q minus 7. All right, let's take a look at 12. What are two factors of negative 36 that add to positive 5? 9 and negative 4. Awesome, because 9 minus 4 would be positive 5. So I have t plus 9 and t minus 4.